There's nothing colder than the laughter of someone who's supposed to care about you. It's the kind of sound that cuts deeper than any insult, the kind that stays echoing long after they've walked away. For Anna Miles, pain wasn't new. She had lived through heartbreak, job loss, and the kind of loneliness that makes nights feel endless. But when she finally found someone who made her believe in hope again, someone who promised to never hurt her like the others, she believed him. His name was Ryan Carter, and he made her think she mattered. At least, until he turned her pain into his favorite joke. He laughed when she cried. He called her too emotional. He made her insecurities public, mocking her in front of co-workers, twisting her vulnerability into something for his amusement. And when she finally stood up for herself, he didn't just walk away. He made sure she lost her job, her confidence, and nearly her sanity. But life has a way of flipping the script when you least expect it. A year later, when Anna had nothing left but her will to survive, the truth came out about what Ryan had done, about the people he hurt, and about the one thing he never saw coming, because karma doesn't send a warning. It just arrives, and this time, the man who mocked her pain would be the one begging for mercy. Stay until the end, because this isn't just a story about revenge. It's a story about strength, survival, and the moment truth finally laughs last. If you believe that no humiliation lasts forever, and that justice always finds its way, subscribe. Because here on Justice Found, every story ends where truth wins. The office break room was filled with the low hum of conversation, coffee machines, and the occasional clink of mugs. It was an ordinary Tuesday, the kind of day that feels harmless, even dull. But for Anna Miles, it was the day everything changed. She stood near the counter, pouring herself coffee, her hands trembling slightly. It had been a rough week. Her mother's health had declined again, and she hadn't slept much. She didn't tell anyone. She didn't want pity. But somehow, Ryan Carter always managed to know just enough to twist the knife. Ryan, the charming, confident project manager everyone admired, had once been kind to her, or so she thought. He'd listened when no one else did, brought her coffee, stayed late at work just to keep her company. But the warmth that once comforted her had turned cold, replaced by a cruel amusement that seemed to feed on her weakness. "Hey, Anna!" he called out from across the room, his grin sharp. "How's the therapy going?" Still crying to strangers for a living. The laughter that followed wasn't loud, but it was enough. Enough to sting, enough to draw the blood he was looking for. Anna froze, her grip tightening on the mug. Her cheeks burned, and for a second she couldn't breathe. The room blurred around her. The smell of coffee, the quiet gasps, the averted eyes. She wanted to disappear. But Ryan wasn't done. "You really should take a day off," he added, still smiling. "It must be exhausting pretending to be okay all the time." Someone tried to change the subject, awkwardly clearing their throat, but the damage was done. Anna set her cup down slowly and walked out without saying a word. In the bathroom, she locked the stall door and sat on the cold toilet seat, her hands pressed against her face. Her heart raced with humiliation and anger, the kind that leaves no room for tears. How had she let it get this far? How had she trusted him? Just 6 months ago, Ryan had been the one texting her goodnight, the one holding her hand during lunch breaks, whispering promises that sounded like truth. He'd told her she was different, that he understood her. But when she told him she wasn't ready for a serious relationship, his charm cracked. The next day, the teasing began. Subtle at first, disguised as jokes. Now it was cruelty dressed in laughter. By the end of the day, Anna sat at her desk staring blankly at her computer screen. The cursor blinked on an empty email draft addressed to HR. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She could report him. She should report him, but she knew how it would go. Ryan was popular, smooth and trusted. She was quiet, anxious, the emotional one. No one would take her word over his. She deleted the draft, packed her things, and left. Outside, the city lights blurred in her tired eyes. The evening air was cold, biting at her skin as she walked toward the train station. Her reflection in a shop window caught her attention. A woman who looked older than 30, her shoulders slumped under the weight of invisible bruises. For the first time, she didn't just feel humiliated. She felt angry. A few days later, HR called her in. "Anna," her manager said carefully, "we've received some concerning feedback about your performance and attitude at work." She blinked. "What? There have been reports that you've been—" The woman hesitated, glancing at her notes. "Emotionally unstable. That you've made others uncomfortable." Anna's stomach turned cold. "That's not true," the manager sighed. "I understand, but multiple employees have made similar comments, including Ryan, the world-tilted Ryan. Of course, that afternoon, she left the office with a box of her belongings, her name already erased from her desk, her ID card deactivated. As she walked past the glass doors, she saw Ryan watching from his office, a faint smile tugging at his lips. He raised his coffee mug in a silent mock toast. Anna stopped for just a second, her jaw tightening. She didn't say a word, but in that moment something inside her shifted. It wasn't rage, not yet. It was something quieter, sharper, the realization that one day he would regret laughing at her pain. That night, as she sat on her bed surrounded by unpacked boxes, Anna received an anonymous email. No subject line, no sender name, just 5 words. "You're not the first one." Anna stared at the email glowing on her laptop screen. "You're not the first one." The words pulsed in her mind, simple but heavy, the kind of truth that changes everything. She leaned closer, rereading it again and again. Her first instinct was fear, that this was another one of Ryan's twisted jokes. But the tone felt different. There was no mockery, no malice, just a quiet warning. She hesitated for a moment, then typed back, "Who are you?" For a long minute, nothing. Then a reply appeared. "Someone who knows what he did." Anna's heart raced. She typed faster this time. "To me? To all of us." Her hands trembled. "Us? How many?" She took a deep breath and forced herself to think clearly. It could be a prank or worse. Ryan trying to bait her into something. But something about the message felt real, almost desperate. "Meet me tomorrow, 6 p.m., Café Loom, 5th and Park. I'll explain everything." Anna stared at the address. It was a quiet corner cafe she used to visit after work. Too public for danger, but still. The idea of seeing someone connected to Ryan made her stomach twist. Still, curiosity, or maybe the need for truth, won. The next evening, Anna sat in a corner booth at Café Loom, the air warm with the smell of espresso and rain from outside. She kept glancing at the door, fingers wrapped around a mug that had long gone cold. At 6:10, a woman walked in, late 20s, blonde hair tied back, eyes sharp but tired. She scanned the room, spotted Anna, and approached slowly. "Anna?" Anna nodded. "You sent the email?" The woman sat down and exhaled. "Yeah, my name's Chloe Ramirez. I used to work at the same company." "With Ryan?" Anna felt her pulse quicken. "Used to?" Chloe gave a bitter smile. "Until I filed a complaint against him. He made my life a nightmare afterward. Spread rumors, twisted my words. HR turned on me. I left before they could fire me." Anna's breath caught. "He did the same thing to me," Chloe nodded. "He's done it to 4 women I know of. All of us, different departments, same pattern. He flirts, gains trust, digs for weaknesses, then turns it into ammunition. If you reject him or stop feeding his ego, he ruins you, quietly, systematically." Anna stared down at her hands. "How did you find me?" "I've been tracking him," Chloe said. "I run a small victims network now. We share information, documents, screenshots, anything that might build a case. When I heard about what happened to you, I figured you might want in." Anna's mind spun. "You think we can stop him?" Chloe leaned forward. "With the right proof, yes. He's clever, but he's sloppy too. He keeps everything. Messages, photos, even recordings. He thinks they make him powerful, but they'll be what destroys him." Anna hesitated. "And you're not afraid?" Chloe's eyes darkened. "Of him? Not anymore. He feeds on fear. When you stop giving him that, he loses control." That night, back in her apartment, Anna opened the shared drive Chloe had sent her. Hundreds of files. Screenshots of text messages, emails, HR reports, even voice recordings. The voices in the clips were familiar, not the words, but the tone. The same cruel, joking tone Ryan had used with her. The same charm turned poison, and then she found one that made her stomach drop. It was her, a recording from a meeting months earlier, when she'd confided in Ryan about her mother's illness. Her voice was shaking as she said, "I just feel like I'm failing everyone." Then Ryan's voice followed, laughing, "Well, you kind of are, aren't you?" He'd recorded it. He'd kept it. Anna closed the laptop and sat in the dark, her chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. There was humiliation, anger, but beneath it all, something new, resolve. He had taken her dignity and turned it into a joke. Now she was going to take back the narrative. The next morning, Anna met Chloe again. "I have a plan," she said simply. Chloe raised an eyebrow. "Oh?" Anna's voice was calm, but her eyes burned with quiet fire. "Ryan's getting promoted next month. Big announcement. Company-wide event. What if the truth came out then, in front of everyone?" Chloe smirked. "You want poetic justice," Anna nodded. "No, I want him to feel what he made us feel. Exposed, small, powerless." That night, Anna opened a new document on her laptop and began typing a story titled, "He Mocked My Pain." It wasn't a report. It wasn't a complaint. It was the truth, raw, undeniable, and about to go public. As she prepared to upload the story anonymously to a workplace review site, a notification popped up on her screen, an incoming message from Ryan. Anna's heart stopped. The words glowed on her screen like a flare in the dark. "Miss me, Anna?" Her fingers froze above the keyboard. For a moment she couldn't breathe. She hadn't spoken to Ryan in weeks, not since the day she walked out with a box of her things. How did he know what she was doing? Her apartment suddenly felt too small, too loud, even though the only sound was the ticking of the clock on the wall. She stared at the message. No profile picture, no name, just an email address she didn't recognize. But she knew it was him. It sounded like him, the arrogance, the smug familiarity. Another message came in seconds later. "You've been busy, talking to Chloe, digging into old stories. You really should stop before you embarrass yourself again." Her throat tightened. He knows. Anna forced herself to breathe, her pulse racing. Her hands shook as she typed back, "What do you want, Ryan?" The reply came almost instantly. "I just wanted to remind you that no one will believe you. They never do. You're emotional, remember? Unstable. I've already made sure everyone knows that." Her eyes burned as she read the words, anger cutting through her fear. The same manipulation, the same playbook. She closed the laptop. She wouldn't let him win again. Not this time. The next morning, Anna called Chloe. "He messaged me," she said, her voice shaking. Chloe swore softly on the other end. "He's testing you, trying to scare you off. That means he's nervous." "Good," Anna said, surprising herself. "He should be." Chloe hesitated. "Look, before we move forward with your plan, there's something you should know. One of the other women, her name's Priya, she tried to go public last year. He threatened her family. She backed off." Anna went quiet. "He threatened her?" "Yes. He's not just cruel, he's calculating. If we do this, we need to be smart. Careful. Once he feels cornered, he'll lash out." Anna nodded slowly. "Then let him. I'm done hiding." 2 days later, the company posted on social media, "Congratulations to Ryan Carter, promoted to Senior Project Director for his outstanding leadership and dedication." Anna's blood boiled as she scrolled through the comments. Dozens of employees congratulating him, praising him. The same man who'd ruined careers, broken people, and laughed while doing it. Her jaw tightened. "Outstanding leadership," she muttered bitterly. Chloe's message came through almost immediately. This is our chance. They'd already planned every detail. Chloe would gather evidence from their network, Anna would write the post, and they'd schedule it to go live minutes after Ryan's promotion ceremony ended. A public reckoning, timed perfectly. The night before the event, Anna couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the hum of the city outside her window. Memories flooded in, her father's voice years ago, telling her, "Dignity is the only thing no one can take unless you give it to them." She had given it once. Now she was taking it back. She got up, turned on her laptop and reread her story, raw, unfiltered, and real. She described the laughter, the humiliation, the cruelty. She detailed how he twisted her vulnerabilities, how he mocked her pain until it became entertainment. She didn't name him directly, but anyone who knew him would see the truth. At the end, she wrote, "Some people build careers on the suffering of others, but truth has a strange way of resurfacing, louder, sharper, and impossible to silence." She set the post to publish at 12:30 p.m. the next day, the exact time of Ryan's promotion speech. The next morning, Anna arrived at the cafe across from her old office. She sat by the window, laptop open, pretending to work while watching the building she'd once called her second home. At 12:25, she refreshed her screen. The cursor blinked on scheduled. 5 minutes. Her phone buzzed. A message from Chloe. "You ready?" "Ready," Anna typed back. Across the street, she saw people gathering near the lobby windows. Balloons, laughter, applause. Then at 12:30, she hit refresh. The post went live. Minutes later, notifications flooded her phone. Dozens of comments, then hundreds. Employees tagging each other, asking questions, connecting dots, and then something she didn't expect. Another post. From someone inside the company. "She's telling the truth. He did the same to me." Then another. And another. Her heart pounded as she scrolled. 4 women. 6. 10. The momentum built like a storm. And then silence. Her phone buzzed again. A new message from Ryan. "You think this makes you a hero? You just ended your own career." Anna stared at the words. Her reflection in the screen looked calmer than she felt. She typed back slowly. "Good. I'd rather be unemployed than soulless." She hit send. Hours later, as she sat in the quiet cafe watching the chaos unfold online, a man approached her table, grey suit, company badge clipped to his pocket. "Anna Miles?" he asked. She froze. "Yes?" He set down a business card. "Internal ethics investigation, confidential inquiry," and with a quiet nod he said, "It's time we talked about Mr. Carter." The man's voice was calm, almost too calm. "Ms. Miles, my name is Ethan Cole, Internal Ethics Division. I'd like to ask you a few questions about your former manager, Ryan Carter." Anna blinked, unsure whether to feel relieved or terrified. The cafe's hum faded as her pulse quickened. "Is this about the post?" Ethan gave a faint nod. "It's about a lot of things. May we speak somewhere private?" She hesitated, then gestured to the empty booth across from her. "Here's fine." He slid a folder onto the table. Thick, labeled confidential. "We've been receiving complaints for months, but your post—" "Well, it started a fire we couldn't ignore." Anna's breath caught. "You knew." "Let's just say we suspected," Ethan said, lowering his voice. "But Ryan's influence in the company made it difficult. He had friends in high places, people who protected him or owed him." Anna's chest tightened. "So all this time you did nothing?" Ethan's expression softened. "It's not that simple. Without victims willing to speak, there was no case. But now," he tapped the folder, "we have 10 formal complaints in the last 48 hours. The board is demanding answers." Anna exhaled slowly, a mix of anger and relief flooding her. "So what happens now?" "We investigate, thoroughly, and I need your help." A few days later, Anna walked through the glass doors of her old building for the first time since she was fired. The air smelled the same, coffee, printer ink, and too much cologne. But everything else felt different. Eyes followed her as she passed. Whispers trailed behind her like shadows. Ethan walked beside her, clipboard in hand. "We've called several witnesses today," he said. "Some of them work closely with Carter. You'll get a chance to respond to his statements." His statements. she asked sharply. He's still denying everything. Completely, Ethan said. He's claiming the post was fabricated, that you're unstable, and that you're working with disgruntled ex-employees to defame him. Anna almost laughed. Of course he is. When they reached the conference room, she stopped short. Ryan was already there. He sat at the far end of the table, expensive suit perfectly pressed, expression calm, but eyes cold. For a moment, she saw the man she used to trust, the one who made her believe she mattered. But that illusion vanished the instant he smirked. Well, if it isn't my biggest fan, he said. Ethan's tone was sharp. Mr. Carter, this is a formal inquiry. You will speak only when asked. Ryan leaned back, arms crossed. Of course. Anna sat across from him, her pulse steady now, her fear replaced by quiet resolve. Ethan began. Ms. Miles, please describe the events that led to your resignation. Anna spoke clearly, her voice unwavering as she recounted everything, the ridicule, the public humiliation, the false HR reports. When she finished, Ethan turned to Ryan. Mr. Carter. Ryan smiled faintly. I never mocked her. She's exaggerating. We joked yes, but she participated. Everyone knew she was sensitive. And as for the HR reports, they were necessary. Her behavior was erratic. Erratic? Anna said, leaning forward. You mean when I cried after you made fun of my therapy? Or when you spread lies about me? He shrugged. You remember things differently. Ethan opened the folder, sliding a printed transcript across the table. We obtained digital records from your work email, Mr. Carter. Do you recognize these? Ryan's smirk faded as he scanned the pages. The transcripts showed his private group chat. Messages mocking Anna, joking about her anxiety, even sharing snippets of her confidential therapy notes he'd somehow obtained. Ethan continued. These came from your company-issued device. And this, he held up a flash drive, contains recordings of conversations between you and multiple employees, without consent. Ryan's face went pale. You can't prove— Oh, we can, Ethan interrupted. And we will. Anna's gaze didn't waver. You enjoyed it, didn't you? She said quietly. Watching people fall apart so you could feel powerful. For the first time, Ryan looked uncertain. You don't understand? No, Anna said. I finally do. The meeting ended in silence. As she left, Anna caught her reflection in the glass. The same woman who once walked out humiliated, now walking back in, unbroken. Ethan caught up with her in the hallway. We'll present the findings to the board this week. He's suspended, effective immediately. Anna nodded, trying to process it. And what happens to him? Ethan's tone was calm but firm. If the evidence holds, he's finished. Professionally, legally? Both. That night, Anna sat by her window, watching the city lights flicker. Her phone buzzed again, another message from an unknown number. This time, it wasn't Ryan. He's gone. They fired him today. Thank you. No name. Just gratitude. She smiled faintly, tears welling in her eyes. For the first time in a long while, the world felt quiet. But as she set the phone down, her inbox pinged again. A new email, subject line. You think it's over. Anna opened it slowly. Inside was a single attachment, a video file labeled For You. Anna's hand hovered over the mouse. The file name, For You, stared back at her like a dare. Her pulse quickened, every instinct screaming not to open it. But curiosity, that dangerous human reflex, won. She double-clicked. The screen went black for a second, then flickered to life. A shaky video recording filled the frame. It looked like a hotel room, dimly lit. The camera was aimed at a mirror, and for a moment, all she could see was a blurred reflection of a man holding a phone. Then she heard his voice. Ryan. You think you've won, don't you, Anna? He said, his tone low, eerily calm. You took my job, my reputation, everything I built. But you don't get to walk away clean. He turned the camera toward himself. His face was gaunt, eyes bloodshot, a faint bruise visible near his temple. He wasn't the polished executive she remembered. He looked unraveled. I made one mistake, he continued, his voice shaking slightly. I trusted people who were never on my side. You think you're the hero in this story, but you're just another liar who got lucky. He laughed bitterly. Do you know what happens to people who ruin others for sport? Eventually, someone ruins them back. Maybe you should ask Chloe how she's been sleeping lately. Anna froze. What? She whispered. Oh, didn't she tell you? Someone broke into her apartment last night. Maybe it was random. Maybe not. You really shouldn't trust anyone, Anna, especially the ones who say they're helping you. The video ended abruptly. Anna sat in stunned silence, the laptop screen reflecting her pale face. Her fingers trembled as she grabbed her phone and called Chloe. No answer. She tried again. Straight to voicemail. Panic surged through her chest. She threw on a coat and rushed out into the cold night. Chloe's apartment was 15 minutes away by car. Anna barely remembered the drive, just the blur of traffic lights and her own heart pounding in her ears. When she arrived, the building was quiet, too quiet. The front door was cracked open, the latch splintered. Chloe, she called, stepping inside. The air smelled faintly of perfume and smoke. Her stomach twisted. The living room was a mess, drawers pulled open, papers scattered, a lamp shattered on the floor. On the coffee table, her laptop sat open, the screen flickering with an unfinished email draft. Anna approached slowly. The message read, "If anything happens to me, look in the folder labeled Project K." Her blood ran cold. She spun around at the sound of movement from the bedroom. "Chloe?" A shadow shifted near the doorway, and then Chloe appeared, coughing, clutching a towel around her arm. "Anna?" she croaked. Anna ran to her. "What happened? Are you okay?" Chloe nodded weakly. "He sent someone. Or something. I don't know. They trashed the place looking for the files." "What files?" "Project K," Chloe said, breathing hard. "It's not just him, Anna. Ryan was part of a network, a private consultancy that manipulated HR cases for money. They covered up harassment claims, falsified records, ruined careers. That's why he always acted untouchable." "Because he was," Anna's heart pounded. "You're saying this goes beyond him?" Chloe nodded. "He was one of their golden boys. But when the company dropped him, he panicked, started threatening to expose them. That's why they're cleaning up, getting rid of anyone connected to him, including us." Anna sank to her knees, the weight of it hitting her. It wasn't just personal anymore. This was systemic. They spent the next hour gathering what they could, copies of emails, financial documents, even hidden flash drives Chloe had stashed in her desk. When Anna slipped one of the drives into her bag, she noticed something scratched onto it in pen. E.C. Ethan Cole. Her stomach turned. "Chloe, did Ethan ever—" Chloe shook her head. "He was one of them, Anna. He worked for the network before moving to internal ethics. He's been monitoring the victims all along." Anna's blood ran cold. "He knows everything." They looked at each other. Two women who had been fighting for truth, suddenly realizing they'd been fighting inside a trap. Back at Anna's apartment, they copied the files onto a secure cloud drive. The evidence was overwhelming. Transactions, fake case closures, forged HR complaints, all tied to names high up in the corporate chain. But as Anna stared at the screen, her phone buzzed again. A new message. "Stop running, Anna, it's over." Attached was a photo, her building, taken from across the street. The timestamp was 1 minute ago. She dropped the phone, heart racing, and whispered, "He's here." The lights in her apartment suddenly flickered. The hum of the fridge went silent. Then from outside the window, through the reflection of the dark glass, she saw him, Ryan, standing on the sidewalk watching her. Anna froze. For a heartbeat, the world held still. No sound, no breath, no thought. Just his silhouette outside, standing beneath the flickering streetlight. Ryan! He looked nothing like the man who once ruled the office with charm and laughter. His face was pale, his hair disheveled, his suit jacket hanging loosely on his shoulders. But even through the glass, she could see it, that same cold, self-assured smile that once made her feel small. Chloe grabbed Anna's arm. "We have to go, now!" Anna's pulse thundered. "He's watching us." Chloe peered through the blinds. "He's not alone." Two figures stood near the corner, half hidden in shadow. They weren't police. They weren't reporters. They were waiting. Anna's breath caught. "We can't go out there." Chloe's eyes darted to the back door. Then we go through the fire escape. They grab the drives, laptops, and whatever evidence they could carry. The lights in the hallway flickered again, and for a terrifying second, the apartment plunged into complete darkness. Anna felt for the wall, whispering, "Stay quiet," when they reached the kitchen. The sound of footsteps echoed from the front door, heavy, deliberate. Then the faint creak of it opening. "Anna?" Ryan's voice cut through the silence, calm, measured. "You're making this worse than it needs to be." She bit her lip, heart racing. "He's inside," she mouthed to Chloe. "Come on," Chloe hissed, climbing onto the counter to reach the small window above the sink. The glass rattled as Anna pushed it open. The cold air outside hit her face like ice. She turned back just long enough to see Ryan's reflection in the dark window behind her. He was closer now. "After everything I did for you," he said softly, almost like a lover. "You could have walked away. But no, you had to make a spectacle." Anna's voice trembled. "You hurt people, Ryan. You enjoyed it." He smiled faintly. "I told you, pain is what makes people honest." Before he could take another step, Chloe swung the metal kettle from the counter. It struck the floor, shattering the silence and jolting him. They didn't wait. Both women scrambled out the window onto the fire escape. The metal stairs groaned beneath their feet as they climbed down into the alley below. Rain had started to fall, heavy and cold. "Where do we go?" Chloe gasped. Anna gripped the evidence bag against her chest. "Somewhere public. Somewhere he can't follow." But as they turned the corner, headlights flared in their faces, a black sedan idling at the alley's end. The doors opened and two men stepped out. Chloe froze. "They're with him," Anna's mind raced. "Split up. Meet me at the old library near 12th. Go." She bolted toward the main street, her shoes splashing through puddles, rain blurring her vision. She didn't look back. Behind her she heard shouts, then silence. By the time Anna reached the library steps, her clothes were soaked, her lungs burning. The city around her glowed in reflections of blue and amber lights. She clutched the flash drive in her fist, the last piece of truth left. Inside the empty library, the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly. She ducked behind a pillar, trembling, scanning the entrance. Her phone vibrated. A message. "It's over, Anna. You can't run from what's already been erased." Then another. "They'll call it suicide." Her hands shook. "No," she whispered. "Not this time." She pulled up the email Chloe had written, the one she never got to send, and attached every document, every file, every photo they'd found. Then she typed one line at the top, "To every journalist, every investigator, and every woman who thought no one would believe her, this is for you." She hit send. The screen flashed, "Upload complete," and then the library door creaked open. Ryan stepped inside, his expression calm, almost tender. "You never learn, do you?" Anna rose slowly, no longer afraid. "You're finished." He tilted his head, rain dripping from his hair. "You think sending a few files changes anything? The system protects men like me." Anna's gaze was steady. "Not anymore." Outside, sirens wailed. A beam of light cut through the rain-soaked windows. Ryan turned toward the sound, confusion flickering across his face as police lights painted the walls red and blue. Anna exhaled shakily. "That's the sound of truth catching up." Officers burst in through the doors. "Hands where we can see them." Ryan froze. His smirk faltered for the first time. Anna stepped aside, watching as he was pinned to the ground, his voice breaking into shouts drowned out by the storm. Hours later, Anna sat on the library steps, wrapped in a blanket, rain still falling softly. An officer handed her a cup of coffee. "He's in custody," he said. "You did good, Ms. Miles, real good." She nodded weakly, staring at the street where blue lights flashed against puddles. "He thought he was untouchable." The officer smiled faintly. "They always do." As he walked away, Anna looked up at the dawn breaking through grey clouds. The city felt different, washed, clean. She whispered more to herself than anyone else. Justice doesn't shout, it whispers. And it never stops coming. Days later, news headlines spread across every screen. "Corporate scandal exposed. Internal ethics chief and executives arrested in cover-up scheme. Whistleblower speaks out after years of abuse." Anna closed her laptop and smiled faintly. Somewhere, Ryan would finally understand what it felt like to be powerless. She whispered the channel's eternal truth, the words that had become her own. No matter how long it takes, truth and justice always find their way. There are two kinds of people in this world, the ones who build others up and the ones who tear them down to feel tall. For a long time, Anna believed silence kept her safe. But silence only protects the guilty. When Ryan mocked her pain, he thought it made him powerful. He thought laughter could bury the truth. But the truth doesn't stay buried. It grows roots, it learns patience, and one day it rises. He lost everything the moment he underestimated the woman he broke. Because what he didn't understand was that pain, when faced with courage, becomes justice, and justice doesn't always come in a courtroom. Sometimes it comes in the quiet strength of someone who refuses to be silenced, because no matter how long it takes, truth always returns, and justice always finds its way.